Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Andrea Peliquin, and I am the events manager here at JW Pepper. I'm here with my colleague, Isaac Brooks. Hi, Isaac.
Hey, Andrea.
He is the product manager for MyScore. We're going to talk with you today about how to get the most out of your MyScore membership, focusing today on how to market both you and your music. A quick note, we will be recording this webinar and a link to the recording will be sent to everyone who registered tomorrow in case you missed something or want to share it with any of your colleagues. So a couple of quick housekeeping things before we begin. Type any questions you have into the Q&A area and we'll either answer them as we can during the discussion as it pertains to the topics that we're discussing, or we'll save them for our Q&A segment at the end. We'll use the chat when we have something to tell you about, like links or any other information to share with you. But the Q&A is where you should ask any questions that you have of us. We've also added an upvote feature, the little thumbs up sign, to the Q&A panel. So you'll be able to see the questions coming in. And if you have that same question, you can click the thumbs up sign to signal your interest. That way you don't have to ask everything twice or more times. You can just upvote the question and we will answer the most popular questions first. They do rise to the top of the question window then. So you are all muted automatically and your cameras are off. So the Q&A box really is the best way to communicate with us. So finally, you'll be asked to complete a brief survey when you leave the webinar. Take a moment to give us your feedback. And if you have any other ideas or topics that you'd like us to take on in future webinars, please take a moment and let us know. So today, our webinar agenda will cover four main things. We're going to be talking about a marketing overview as it pertains to MyScore and how MyScore differs from traditional publishers as far as marketing goes and what you're responsible for, etc. We'll get more in depth on what to include in your profile page. We'll talk more about your composer biography as well, and then what to include in your product descriptions to make sure they get found and they're easier to do that. So we've got a lot to cover today, and I'm going to turn it over now to the expert. So Isaac, thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to this.
Thanks for that introduction, Andrea. I always appreciate your help here. And it's so good to see so many of you that have logged in, a lot of new names, a lot of names that have been around in our MyScore program for years. We're at almost this milestone of 10 years of being a platform and a service serving composers. So we're really excited to offer that for you. Just a moment here while I share my screen, but we do have a presentation for you, and we're going to talk about a few things about how to be successful using your MyScore service. What are the tools that we offer you? And then a few tips and things to keep in mind as you're using our service and writing music and really out there promoting yourself. It's always fun. You think after a year we would figure this out, right? So like I said, we're going to go over some of the marketing things. You know, many of you get to talk to me on a weekly basis. You're asking me, what are the things that I should be doing? What are the things that I need to be doing with my MyScore profile? What are the things that I need to do with my music? And so we're going to just go over, you know, what a successful MyScore account would look like. So here's a few things. So your music should be looking professional. That's a given. So, you know, you want to make sure that the engraving's looking great. You want to make sure that your cover, all of the components of your music is really looking professional, because the moment that you submit your music to us, we have the ability to print it right away. Of course, we want to see MP3 audio. We want to see video links. Those are going to aid in selling your music. Any director or music teacher that's coming over to look at your music, they want to hear it. They want to see it. They want to see it in action. So make sure you're adding those. Of course, upload original works. People want to hear what you're writing. And if you have an arrangement, make sure it's a really good arrangement of something in the public domain. Now, of course, actively promoting your product. So that's a real important one. We're going to kind of camp on that one for a little bit in a few moments, but get active, get out there, start moving your music and putting it in the appropriate fields and where it really needs to be. So we'll touch on that, but also we want to kind of emphasize quality versus quantity. So you may be a very robust composer and have thousands of works. That's wonderful. Let's make sure that they're quality. So just because you have only a few pieces of work on MyScore doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful. Make sure they're quality though. And of course, write unique and appealing music for your target audience. So consider what you're writing. If you're writing for professional groups, if you're writing for collegiate groups, obviously that's wonderful. That's something that you obviously are an expertise. Now, keep in mind that J.W. Pepper is one of the world's largest distributors to the K through 12 educational markets and sacred markets. So consider that, those are the type of things, those are the type of music that's going to do really well on J.W. Pepper. Now, as we move on, I want to kind of call out a few different things about marketing in general and what MyScore provides you versus a traditional publisher and what those kind of agreements would look like. So with MyScore, you get to retain your full copyrights. With a traditional publisher, you might be entering into an exclusive agreement where you can only sell with them. MyScore gets your music to market as soon as possible. We try to get this turned around within 1 to 2 business days. And in my opinion, I think we get it in there even faster. So we really love to offer that music as fast as possible. With a traditional publisher, you may be working with a publishing cycle. It may take up to 6 months, almost a year before your music actually gets to market or even cataloged. Of course, with MyScore, we have generous royalties. We have 25% on any printed hard good, 50% on any digital download. With a traditional publisher, you're going to see different terms and percentages. And of course, you're going to enter contracts that you might not be able to get out of for a length of time. With MyScore, of course, you have control over the aspects of your promotion. If you want to be promoting on other websites, if you want to be promoting on your own website, you have that ability. Of course, with the traditional publisher, they have market reach. Obviously, many of us know different publishers and know how large they are. And it might feel like, you're just a small fish. Now, of course, bringing your music to a publisher, that aids in really being able to bring your music to the forefront with particular markets. So there's no wrong or right answer. Self-publish, publish, get it to where you want it to be. And the final thing with MyScore is you have creative license. You can write what you want. You can compose what you want. You can set it for all sorts of ensembles, all sorts of different instruments. And with a traditional publisher, there might be an editorial review where they might come back and say, hey, you need to reset this. This wasn't going to work for this ensemble type. Of course, you're going to be losing a little bit of the look and feel of your piece. And of course, publisher is going to have a design company. They're going to be able to create wonderful content. So of course, there's no wrong or right answer here. You need to do what's going to be appropriate for your music. So of course, you can use MyScore as a tool to supplement while you're shopping your pieces to a publisher, and vice versa. Sometimes publishers don't take your entire catalog. And so we have seen published composers bring some of their works over to MyScore, and it's worked out really well for them. Of course, the elephant in the room, everyone wants more exposure. And especially on JW Pepper, everyone wants to see their works rise to the top. So here are a few components that, we see um, with MyScore products and products in general that will tend to get more exposure with these key elements. So, with your music, you have market fit. And what we mean by that is you're writing the appropriate music for your market. So, if you're writing a elementary orchestra piece and you've uploaded it and you've done all the work to get it onto MyScore, and it has 4 or 5 sharps. Well, most elementary string orchestra players aren't going to be able to read 1 sharp. So, making sure that you're classifying your music in the right markets, that's important. Making sure that you have amazing assets, and that includes covers, recordings, engravings. Now, these are not things that MyScore can really assist you with, but we are more than happy to advise and give our input and really help you out as you're working with outside contractors or doing this yourself. And we love to suggest any programs or anyone that we know can help you with these type of components. Keep in mind that even with JW Pepper being a distributor of music, there is still a calendar. Selling music is cyclical. And so if you're writing music for the holiday season and you want to get it out there and get it to the wide reaches of the interwebs, you need to have that music in our system months in advance. We know of many different publishers, many different composers that are writing their holiday tunes right now and they're uploading them to MyScore. So keep in mind the season is always off probably 3 to 5 months from what your target goal is. Of course, many folks are going to be looking for additional works. If someone likes your music, they want to see other works by you. So let's not make it a one-hit wonder. Everyone knows those one-hit wonders from the past that have just gone away. We want to make sure that our customers shopping JW Pepper are being able to shop more of you. So go ahead, upload more, bring more of your talent to the market. So our last 2 components are really a little more subjective, but these are going to be a little specific to your region. It's really important to get onto festival lists. Like I said, we're working with the education field. So a lot of the works that we do see being purchased are showing up on festival lists. So if you're in Texas, the UIL list, that's an important list to be a part of. And you can go check out those websites to get a little more details on how to get on those lists. And additionally, enter your music into reading sessions. It's always so great to see and hear performances of live new works. And so a conference like the Midwest Clinic is a great place to have your works being submitted for reading sessions and live performance. Of course, a few more tips to just getting more of your music out there and in front of folks. If you have a newsletter, if you have an email list, go ahead and share. Share often, share periodically the updates to your catalog. Share about you. Let people know what you're writing. Let people know what you're passionate about. Join Facebook groups. Now, don't get too crazy. Don't bombard and post every 3 seconds. That gets a little annoying, but be in the appropriate groups. So if you're a choral director, if you're writing music for vocalists, if you're writing music for SATB, it's important to be a part of those choral director groups and participate in those often. Now, an additional thing is think about creating score flip videos. We do have some articles related to that. We'll share with you about how to create a score flip video. But those are going to aid because not only can they be attached to your product on Pepper, they can also live on YouTube and wherever you're selling your music. So those are really important because you can see the score, you can hear the score, and it's out there. Of course, network with everyone. If you and I haven't met personally at a conference or if we haven't done a Zoom call, let's schedule something. I would love to talk with you, love to meet you. But consider who who's in your network. If you know music directors, if you know music teachers, anyone on a state list, let them know that you're writing music. And of course, be a part of professional associations. If you're an educator, you're most likely involved in your MEA. Um, if you're a part of any kind of composer affiliations like the Institute for Composer Diversity, the American Composer Society, those are great networks to be involved with. And of course, network with your friends here at JW Pepper. We love connecting with musicians and composers. So I do want to leave some room for questions. I see that there's quite a few. So Andrew's going to help us out with a few of those.
Technology is fun. Okay. Yes, we've gotten several questions, and we are going to keep taking little breaks like this at the end of each question, or at the end of each question, at the end of each section, so that we can address the stuff that we just talked about. So let's start with our top voted question so far. And this is a good one. And you know what, Isaac, I'm going to take this one because I am the events person. So the question is, where do we even begin to look for reading lists, festivals, etc., to submit to? That is an excellent question. And it's really all in who you know. And I would say right now at Pepper, we do reading sessions. We do them for the state MEA conventions. We do them for large conventions, national conventions. They generally come to us from educators in those areas. So like either the chair of their band division or the chair of their choral division or their ACDA chapter or something like that. So you want to get to know who those people are that organize those groups. And those are generally listed on the state MEA websites or on the ACDA websites. And so that's the American Choral Directors Association or the ASTA, the String Teachers Association. Go on there and see who runs those particular chapters in the state, and make sure they're on your email list. Make sure they're constantly aware of the pieces that you're putting out, because they will submit lists to us of pieces they want to read at their conferences. And the best thing about MyScore composers is that we produce virtual booklets right now for these reading sessions because of all the virtualness of everything. But we can only put pieces in these booklets that we sell on our website. So oftentimes people will suggest pieces to us that we have never heard of before and that aren't available on our website, and we're not able to include them then. So as a MyScore composer, you already have a huge advantage because we sell your music to begin with. So get to know these people. So festivals, I would start with the organizer of the festivals. And especially, and somebody else asked here how to find out how to get your music on state lists, on state music lists. Go to their website. They generally have submission deadlines for new publications. So for instance, I'm from Wisconsin and I know the Wisconsin state list, it's a very good one. They have information on the WMEA website about how to submit titles to be considered for their state list. And they generally have committees that go through all the new titles and pick music that they want to include. So check out different states, especially Texas. I know Florida has a nice one. New York has a nice one. Isaac can help you with all that as well, and which states have the big lists that you want to get seen on. And if maybe you feel like you're not ready to be on the Texas list yet, start with some smaller lists and get your foot in the door there. It's anything you can do to get your pieces exposed to more conductors, more directors is really valuable. So I hope that helps. You can always email me. You all have my email, events@jwpepper.com, and I'd be happy to point you in the right direction there as well. So that's that. Isaac, anything else to add about that?
Right. And so when it comes to a state list, of course, those are curated. And on Pepper, once we get a certified list, we're going to start creating those within the searches on Pepper, and we do share those out. So I'm well aware of many composers that are with MyScore that are appearing on those lists, particularly in Maryland and NYSSMA up in New York, TMEA. So they're a part of those lists. So don't be afraid. Of course, keep in mind just the deadlines of those lists, and we're talking maybe even a year out. So you should start thinking about your 2022 list options.
And sometimes with those lists, states will only review specific categories each year, and there's a rotation. So it might be several years before they get back to your category. So it's good to do your research and pick a couple lists that you really have in mind to try first, and then get that stuff submitted. We do have another question. Let's take another one from Michael. Do we need permission from a group that we recorded to post an audio file of their performance? What do you think?
I think that's going to be subjective to the ensemble. Yeah, that's really going to range between it. Obviously, if it's kids, you're going to want to make sure you have permissions there. If it's a professional group, now you're talking collective bargaining agreements and a lot of legalese. So I think when you're recording, be cognizant of what your use is going to be after this recording. So if it's for a school, most often there's already permissions that live there. If you're an educator, you know exactly what those are. If you're working with professional groups, you know what that bargaining agreement's going to be with the orchestra. And there have been many many scenarios where you have a beautiful recording, you can't use it. So just be mindful of what you're doing when you record.
Turn my mic back on here. We do have some questions on here that are not especially related to what we're talking about right this second. So I'm going to hold off on answering those until the end, just so we can keep going here. But here, let's see. Is it possible to have 2 recordings on MyScore, such as one live performance and one computer generated? An excellent question.
Well, we would always prefer live. I think that's always a little nicer on the ears. Um, of course, being a real musician, it's so nice to hear real music. I'm sure many of you know that same feeling. So there wouldn't be a necessary problem with having 2 recordings. So we could facilitate that. If you do have a YouTube performance, automatically we can add audio and YouTube for one product listing. We do have a multi-track option available. So if you have an extra recording, just email it to us at myscore@JW Pepper, and we can add that.
All right, I think we're going to keep going and go through another little section. Keep putting your questions in here. We'll answer a few of them as we go along, but we will save probably the majority of them until we open it up at the end for the rest of the questions. So keep adding them in there. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, I really like these questions. They're spot on. So now we want to kind of dive a little deeper into the MyScore tool and what it has to offer, and just a few components that, if you're not aware, we want to bring to your attention. So, with every MyScore membership, every one of you that are on our webinar today, you already have a composer profile. So these composer profiles, they are public. There is no minimum for how many pieces you've uploaded. So you could upload 1 piece, you could upload 0 pieces at this point, and you still have a composer profile. And so we're going to walk through what those components are, what it can be used for, and then how to just kind of build upon those profiles. So with the MyScore profiles, those are searchable. Anyone coming to JW Pepper, stumbling upon our MyScore library of composers, they are searchable. So any words that you're putting into your bio, any descriptions about you, those are keyword searchable. So if someone's looking for your name particularly, or if they're looking for your publishing name, or if they're just looking in general for cello, they can find that. And that's a really cool feature. That's something that we got to throw in over the last year of craziness, but that's pretty cool. It's an opportunity with your composer profile to add personal touches. So this is the point for you to share about yourself. This, of course, lives on Pepper. So anyone that's shopping that wants to know a little bit more about you, and of course, our customers want to know who are the people that are writing the music that they're performing. So go ahead and share about yourself. And then that last point, share at any time. These profiles are really a tool for you. When you started your account, there was probably something you might have questioned. We asked for a preferred URL. Really, that is just a nice way to make a web address for you. So most composers have jwpepper.com/myscore/Isaac Brooks. That's my name. So those profiles already live, and it's really just like a vanity website. It's your own little website within JW Pepper. There are many composers that I talk to that don't have their own website. So use this as a tool for you to direct customers to. Of course, like I said, there is a vanity web address. So you'll be able to find that in your MyScore profile once you're logged in. If any of you have problems, go ahead and contact me and I'd be happy to help you out with that. You have the opportunity to have a nice profile picture. You can have a headshot, you can have a logo, anything that would be appropriate in just selling your music. You do have that opportunity to add the bio. Bio is critical, and we're going to camp on that for a couple minutes in the next section. Social media links. This is an opportunity to really add all the social media that you're active on. So if you have your own website, your Facebook group, your Facebook page, your Twitter, YouTube channel, you can link all of those there. See this as really the hub of how folks can get a hold of you. Of course, we're not sharing customer details at this point, but this is a nice way for folks to be able to go in and learn more about you. And then further on, as you upload and as you start to add product, this is a great place for your catalog items to appear. So right here we have Grace. She's one of our new MyScore composers. She's already added a few pieces and she's featured an item. We have a little more details about how to feature items, but that's where your catalog is going to appear, in addition to other Pepper searches. And then you also have an opportunity to share events. So if you're having virtual events like a webinar like we're on today, or if you're going to be in person at an event here in the future, the near future, we're all fingers crossed, you can add that information there, and it just helps with people to be able to engage with you more. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the bio, what it should be used, what you should have included in there. And we're going to just kind of dialogue about that for a moment. So what to include in your bio really is, it's up to you. There's no right or wrong answer, but here are a few tips that we find really aid in building a nice, robust profile about you. Adding your experience, explaining your value as a composer. Really, that's your time to shine, your time to explain who you are, your key motivations for composing, that next point, really focusing on why you do this, why you love this. Obviously most of us want to make some money out of this, but there's a reason why you got into writing music and making it for people to perform in the first place. So go ahead and share that. Make sure you're adding information about the industry affiliations you're with. Like I said, ASCAP, ASTA, TMEA, if you're a part of any music education programs, go ahead and add those there. A lot of folks, they know what they know, so they're going to search for people that they have a connection with. Make sure you're going to be explaining the type of music you specialize in. Not everyone is writing for every known option or department page that's on JW Pepper. So if you're specializing in string music, let people know that. Let people know your experience. How long have you been writing? Have you been writing 30 years for orchestras and conducting? That's important to share. Also share your educational background. So if you have, if you're a part of an alumni association, if you went to Berkeley, if you went to the New England Conservatory, if you went to University of Valley Forge, those are places that you can add that, because folks are going to be searching and they want to connect with you and support you. And also add those achievements, add those awards, any professional accomplishments. Have you been performed at Carnegie Hall? Have you been performed by Yo-Yo Ma? Go ahead and add those type of things. Here's just a couple of great examples. Jill Gleanis, she's a wonderful choral writer. She does talk about some of her successes, her background with writing for choral groups. She was performed in a couple of different ensembles with the New York Phil, with the Boston Pops, and so she really has kind of started to fill out her description here, and she is well known with some of the music that she's writing, and she's a great example of someone who is published, has been published in the past, brought her music to MyScore to supplement some of the music that's not being taken up by traditional publishing means. So a great example here. Julius, one of our newer composers, he's just writing a ton of information about his background, what he's been working with the groups that he's working with, and where he's at in life, and what are his motivations for writing. And so we appreciate him. He's doing a great job. And then Brian Kidd, great band composer, writing a lot of tunes, was the chief arranger for the Navy band for a number of years, and really has some experience with writing tunes. And if you've done any jazz music, you've probably played some of his arrangements and tunes, but just associating with his military history and some of his affiliations with George Mason University. So I want to answer some of those questions. I see they're coming in.
Oh, yes. We've got some really good ones. Again, I'm going to save the more generic MyScore questions until the end, but there are some specific some specific questions here about bios and whatnot. So the first one I just saw it. Where did it go? Are profiles seen only on the J.W. Pepper site or through Google SEO?
I'm going to have to come back to you on that. Right now, we have it only on the J.W. Pepper site, and we are doing some work to bring those even more forward to the MyScore department page, and really starting to call out the folks that we're working with. There's no reason to hide it. There's no reason to kind of bury it in different directories or anything like that. We want to show the people that we're working with, and the composers that we're helping to get marketed and get out in front of directors.
Okay, well, we have a question here, or not a question, more of a statement from Andy. He says, I'm interested more in the YouTube score videos. And we did talk about putting together a tutorial video on how to create those. But Isaac, you have an article, right, that we can share out with everybody, possibly in the follow-up email tomorrow?
That's correct. And just real quick, very easy to do. If you have a Mac, you can do QuickTime and capture your screen. If you have a PC, there are many different tools that are out there for grabbing screen and audio. So really easy, some free stuff. So we'll send out that article in our follow-up email.
Okay. Another question. This one, where did it go? Every time you guys upvote something, the list changes. Can you add hyperlinks in your composer description?
Definitely add your add your website. We do allow that. There's a field in the profile page. Once you log in, you can add your website. You can also add URL or web addresses, but they are not going to hyperlink there. So that's just a functionality that's not built in. And part of that is we want focus on the MyScore product, your catalog that's on J.W. Pepper. Folks have already gotten there, so you want to kind of leave them there so they can kind of work their way into your catalog.
Okay. Is there a maximum length for bios? I kept mine rather short. That's from Christina.
So there is no maximum or minimum length. Well, yeah, there is a minimum length. If you leave it blank, you are missing out. You're really missing out. So if it's short, if it's, hey, I'm a composer, go ahead and expand on that. Let us know who you are. But, a couple of lines. Of course, as you kind of navigate through our composer database, you might see where someone has a longer detail about their background, and there's no problem with that. But for the sake of space on the screen, we are going to truncate that. So you're really only seeing the first 2 to 3 lines.
Okay, so one more question here specifically about marketing your description and your bio. Please go over how to create personal JW Pepper web address again.
Okay, so we've already, if you're a live, well, all of us are live. If your profile is created and you've already signed up, we already have a web address for you. So that was created at the beginning when you signed up. So if that was a couple weeks ago or a couple of years ago, that's already been created for you. We can update that, but that would be something that you have to email me at myscore@jwpepper about. But that can be found when you log into your MyScore account. On that first page, it says profile up in the header, and then you'll see a link that says view public link, and then above it will say www.com jwpepper /myscore, your name or your publishing name.
Okay, I think that's going to be the questions for now. I want to keep going because I know we have one more section before we get to our more generic question period where we'll get to the rest of these. But I do want to say, if we don't get to all the questions, if you ask your question and it includes your name in the question, and so you don't do it as an anonymous question, we can reply to you later or offline because we will know who asked the questions. But anyone that has an anonymous question, we won't know who you are. So if you want a reply later, if we don't get to it, please include your name in your question. Thank you. All right, Isaac, last section.
Yeah, so our product descriptions, I would say, are probably one of the most important items in your upload, in your presence on JW Pepper and beyond, because these are real useful in the searches that customers are going to be doing when they come to Pepper. And so we're going to dialogue about that, give you a couple show you a few things and how those are looking. But here are a couple reasons why these are important. It's a creative snapshot of what you're writing. And so, this is just giving that real quick detail to the person that's coming in and saying, oh, hey, this is a part of something bigger. This features solos. This features, it's mysterious. It's beautiful. It's, those are some words that are like, hey, this is drawing to me. I want to listen to this. I want to dive into this a little bit more. Of course, it's short, it's concise. We all can't be on an hour-long webinar to talk about our music, but this is a real snapshot. It's really just quick and easy to say, hey, person buying this, consider this. The reason why product descriptions are particularly important is that anything that you type in that description box when you upload is keyword searchable on JW Pepper. So if you've done any searching of your product, or if you've purchased from us in the past, you've probably done a keyword search looking for something important like Greensleeves or violin music for beginners. All of those keywords, all of those words, the descriptions that you're writing about your music are going to show up in searches. That also includes the title of your piece. If you have a particular title like Greensleeves, of course, there's probably a couple thousand options that are going to show up across many different publishers and composers. So that's pretty specific. But obviously, keyword search is going to also pull up details about the composer. So if you just search your name, you're probably going to find a couple, or your entire catalog is going to appear in those searches. So make sure you're being cognizant. We do have a link that that Andrea can share with you about just the guidelines for descriptions, titles, and the subject lines as well. Things to include in your description, use keywords. So violin, orchestra, anything that's going to be a commonly searched phrase for the type of music that you're writing. So that's going back to the market fit and really being aware of your target audience. So if you're using phrases that really resonate with the sacred market and things that are going to appear, you can do some keyword searches and just see, hey, what's going to appear here on Pepper, because once you start using that website and using that search field, you're going to get a really good feel for what's going to appear in those searches. So do a little research there, and go ahead and just start to add words as they are appropriate. Like you said, intended for your market. So if you're adding components that are, hey, this is for beginning string orchestra, that's perfect, because you know that as a beginning string orchestra teacher, they don't want to just spend all their time tuning instruments. So, people are looking for content that is where they're at right now. Go ahead and add information about the desired emotional response. So, if this is something that's going to invoke creativity or invoke romance, if it's going to invoke some sort of feeling, and those are the things that you're thinking about when you're composing and writing the piece, go ahead and add that into your description. Like I said, go ahead and add key musical attributes or educational benefits. So if it's a method book, think about the fingerings, the ranges of the instrument. Think about the appropriate audience. So if this is a beginning method book, add those type of details. Of course, tell the story of your composition. If this is a piece about a night ride on a horse and riding off into the sunset, go ahead and add those details. And then, of course, make sure as you're weaving all of this together that you're really displaying your musical expertise, your knowledge, and your authority to sell this music to directors. A couple of things I do want to point out, a few things that you really should not be including in your descriptions is lists of instruments. There are some appropriate places for that, which an appropriate place would be on the cover of your title, on your title page, in the inside cover of your pieces. Go ahead and add information really specific about the piece. Don't add too much marketing fluff like this is the best piece ever, or you got to buy this, there's a sale right now. We want to avoid that. That's kind of for other markets. And here's a couple tips for you. So as you're thinking about your descriptions, as you're thinking about your bios, spell check with Grammarly. That's a free tool. You can add it to your web browser, add it to your desktop, and be able to drop anything in there. It's a great tool. Keep it professional. Don't add unnecessary details about you and your dog and that, unless it aids in selling your piece. Be specific. So if you're rambling on about this is the best piece in the world, be a little more specific about why it's the best piece. Tell us why it's appropriate for the market that you're trying to reach. Keep it relevant with keywords and phrases. Like I said, avoid the marketing fluff. Really focus on telling the story of your piece, and then utilize the bios, utilize the descriptions, fill those in. Don't leave them blank, because you are doing yourself a disservice. So I think we have probably a few more questions that we need to answer. And there's a few other things I'll get to in a moment, but let's answer those questions.
Okay. All right, let me get my video back on here. There we go. Okay, yes, we've got a ton of questions, and this is our last Q&A segment, right? So as I put in the chat, upvote your favorite questions, because we are going to start at the top and see what we get done. And like I said, if you ask your question and you keep your name on it, we'll be sure to answer. One of us will send you a response, probably Isaac. later. All right, we're going to start at the top here. So some of these questions may not particularly pertain to what we're talking about today. They're more generic MyScore questions, but I promised we would get to those. So here we go. This one's from Dan. When a choral work is on MyScore in Octavo format, is that a challenge for most churches to e-print? Should we opt for letter size instead to get more downloads? Great question.
It is a really great question. Actually, we are actually going to be taking care of that for you. So when someone does ePrint through our services like ePrint Go, being involved in our ePrint folders, like we are going to optimize that for you. So if you've selected 7.5 by 10, that standard Octavo size, it's automatically going to be resized appropriately for their printers at home. Anything that's oversized, now it might be a little iffy. So if you have like an 11 by 17, it's going to be shrunken down so they can print it at home on an 8.5 by 11.
Okay, excellent. This is from Anonymous. Is there a way to split royalties with librettists or the original composer with whom we've done an arrangement?
At this point, that's not a part of the MyScore service. We would love to get there, but that's not a part of it. We do provide you with a quarterly royalty report, and at any time you can check your MyScore royalties and see what is selling. All you need to do is go to the sales page and enter the date range that you're looking for. We will give a full royalty report once you're paid. So we can't do that split, but we know plenty of folks that are working with lyricists or working with other composers that they've arranged and doing that split elsewhere.
Okay, from Sam, can MyScore handle compositions with parts that have more than 4 pages?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm gonna take a couple assumptions. So 4 pages or more, absolutely upload those. We do have like a little saying around here called the rule of 4. Don't let that trip you up. Basically, we're going to be creating some nice booklets for you. Any piece that's uploaded to MyScore automatically is going to be set up for print, and so we're doing a lot of work around that right now. But be thinking about if your piece is going to show up in a booklet form. So with standard booklets, basically we're going to just take 2 pieces of paper, fold them in half, print them on the spine. And so really we're just thinking about how that's going to look in booklet form. So if you have let's say you have 5 pages, we're going to have to automatically go up to the next multiple of 4, which would be 8. And so if you don't have 8 pages worth of music, consider adding a description about yourself, add a marketing page, let people know all the other works that you have available. If you don't do that, you're going to just have blank pages at the end of your piece.
Okay, so we've gotten several questions about the same thing. So, and you may have mentioned this already, I don't remember, but can we edit our current product description that's already there?
Okay, so product descriptions can definitely be revised. Definitely go ahead and reach out through the help widget on the product. So if you're looking in your catalog when you're logged in, you'll see a moment where you can click edit, and that's going to pop up a little screen, and then you can dialogue with us, and that gets sent directly to myself, Josh Kale, Dan Fullman, other folks that are working with the MyScore project, and then those are definitely going to be reformatted by us. So you can't edit those instantaneously, but typically we get those turned around within a couple minutes.
Okay, this is a great question. I really like this one. What are the most important factors in the J.W. Pepper search algorithm? Newness of the piece, number of pieces published, number of sales, regular releases, etc.
I think that's a really great question, and I'm actually going to navigate over to the JW Pepper website really quick because I think I can explain it, but I think it's just easier to see it. So let me get this a little larger. Can we still see my screen? Great. All right. So there was a lot packed into that question. So let's just really kind of take a step back to the MyScore department page. So on this front page, like I said, there's actually some changes coming to this here in the next month. So be on the lookout for that. On the left-hand side, we have the different categories. So as you're uploading and you select band or marching band, those are going to appear in the particular categories. So let's just go to marches. And then typically when it comes to how they appear, it's really dependent on your personal search preferences. So on this page, I'm sorting by title, but I could sort by new. And so that's going to refresh. And here we have a new piece. This actually just came on today. I saw it when it was processed. And so this is a brand new piece that came on. So those are going to fill in by the newest, basically by the day that it was uploaded. If you want to go by top selling, you can do top selling. Really, it's going to be the preference of the person that is searching JW Pepper. But one thing to consider if you're not a regular shopper on Pepper, we have some really useful tools on the left navigation. So if you're in the concert band setting and you're looking for marches like we've established, there's 262 marches. So instead of going and searching one by one, you might want to take a look at a few of the different options we have. We have our Pepper exclusives, which really include the availability of ePrint, the new factor. So there is that new factor. So basically anything that's come in here, probably in the last, typically it's a floating year to 6 months. It depends on where you're searching. We have mints, which that is our that's a whole nother webinar in itself. But we've shared some of that data in our latest newsletter. So make sure you're checking out those newsletters. Mints really just shows you the ranges, the tessituras, the instrumentation of the pieces, and those get added as the piece is uploaded. So let's say you were looking for a march and you wanted to find something that was medium easy. You can use all these wonderful search filters here on the left to really dive into what you're looking for. So hopefully they answered it.
So there's not really an algorithm. It's really based on what the people are looking for, because they can really search down to a specific finite kind of thing. They can get pretty specific. And I'm looking over here because Isaac is actually sitting right over here. Yeah. So yeah, so the more information you can put in your description that would help people find it, or the more ways they can search for it, would be really helpful, I think, from what I hear you saying.
Yeah, and one last thing about this, while you may be using or maybe showing up in the general JW Pepper searches, here up at the top, obviously you start typing in marches or something like that, you're going to show up in alongside all the publishers. All the publishers we have on JW Pepper are going to appear. Use that left navigation to find yourself, see where you're appearing. There are different things you might see where some of our most top uploaders, where they have thousands of pieces, like some of our top publishers, they have thousands of pieces they've added to our website. But the other thing that I wanted to point out is if you're utilizing your MyScore profile and that dedicated URL, that's actually going to narrow it down to your curated list. So that's going to take you down to that, all those uploads that you have. So if you use that, you can really focus in on that and really get people to your music.
Yeah. So when you say use that, when you're doing your own marketing and promoting your music, share that URL that goes right to your stuff, because then they don't have to even worry about searching our site. So that's another way to do it. Okay, this next question, I think I'm going to take this next one. Do I have to stay within my state, or can I apply to a list in another state? And where do these lists exist? So we addressed kind of where do they exist a little bit earlier. I would definitely go to the states you're interested in, check out their State Music Education Association website. So their state MEA. Generally, you can just search, for instance, Minnesota Music Education Association, or just put in whatever state Music Education Association, go to their site. Some of them run their music list through their state activities association. Some of them do it through their music association. It's really different in every state. They all do it differently, but that's where you can find the lists, or at least find the breadcrumb that leads you to the list. And you can definitely apply your music to any state you'd like. They take music from anywhere and everywhere. Most of them do. I don't know any state that is specifically just for composers from that state. So that one, I think you can feel pretty confident in that. So I hope that helps there.
If I might add, obviously those state lists are going to have different parameters. So keep in mind that if you're submitting to Maryland versus NYSSMA, you might have to do some adjustments based off of their requirements for ensembles.
Always good to read the fine print. Okay, here's another question. Is there any way that we can be told anything about the purchaser of our music, such as where the purchaser is based, such as country or area, or whether a school or choir orchestra or individual? This information would be useful.
Yeah, that's really a great question. Unfortunately, we're not really sharing that finite of detail at this moment. There are some conversations about how can we improve the analytics, the information that we do share. But if you are looking at your royalty report once it's printed, you're going to see the country that it is being sold. Of course, we can always expand upon that, and feel free to email me and put in a request, because we definitely want to be building upon the tool that we already have. And that's part of my role. When I'm not doing webinars, I'm working on this tool, trying to improve it for you as a user. So if you have a use case and you think, hey, this would be really helpful to me, go ahead and let me know.
All right, we've got about 5 minutes left. So here's our next question. How can we get more people to sign up for email newsletters? And that one, basically, get yourself out there and everywhere possible, and include a link to your website, wherever your email sign up list is. If you want to point them to the MyScore site and you have a URL in there that they can copy into their browser to sign up for your list, great. Isaac, do you have any other ideas? I think social media is a really great place to put your links. So Isaac.
Right. So if you have your own website, that's a great place to just have a newsletter. If you have content that is really enriched for a particular market, and you want to share that up, just have a nice little form that says, hey, sign up for my newsletter. I would avoid trying to buy a list or find lists or emails or anything. Do not do that, because you're going to become spam really quick. So that's important. Of course, many people ask me, hey, can you share who's buying this? Can you share their email? We can't do that as a company. The laws are really clamping down on personal data going out. So we really can't share that. We'd love to, make that a more clear. But again, that goes back to networking, really putting yourself out there. And of course, make it easy for people to sign up.
Okay, another question from Jeff. I have regained copyrights from previously published works by traditional publishers and uploaded them to MyScore. Yay! However, they still show on Pepper's site as POP or still available when they aren't. How can we get the out-of-date listings removed? That's a pretty specific question, but it got several upvotes, so.
Yeah, that's a great question, because we have many situations like that. So there are a few things happening. If it's permanently out of print, if it's not available on Pepper, go ahead and let me know. Shoot me off an email. I'm a resource for you, because I'm going to be able to get in there and understand what's happening. If let's say an instance where there's a piece that you have with a publisher and and it's not technically out of print yet or hasn't been released back, but that's going to happen, hold off until that definitely is finalized. Obviously, if you have something in writing, let us know, because we can speed things along. But typically, anything that's published with another publisher and on Pepper, you really need to go through that publisher, that rep that you have, to make those corrections. So I'm not going to touch those until it's really on my score.
Okay, we got 2 more questions that I want to take here quick. So, and I know, Isaac, we talked about this, but I can't remember if you discussed it in the webinar. How do you get the formatting in the product description to match what you type when you enter it? For example, if your description has multiple paragraphs. Did we talk about this already? No. Okay.
Yeah, we kind of went over that. We just breezed right through. So let's just take a look at this this paragraph. Okay, so when you drop information into that description field in the upload, we're processing a lot of music. We're trying to make sure that there's uniformity with our website. So there is some formatting that's going to be removed automatically. I unfortunately can't type in everything, and you probably don't want me to, because I need to use Grammarly just like other folks. But the thing is, like, if you do have some paragraphs where it would be appropriate, let me know. We can kind of tweak those. But for right now, we kind of remove that, because the paragraphs really don't come up all that well when you get to a page, because again, we're only going to show really the first line and a half of information. As you can see here, we kind of truncate that full description. And then also, if a piece ends up going to, let's say it's used in a web market or in a catalog, or if it's picked up by one of our editors for a particular for a particular marketing campaign, they're going to do a lot of work to these and make them look right. So I completely understand why it might be frustrating to lose some of that formatting. It's really just a workflow thing, and we are working on that.
Okay, we have one more question, and it's not related to my score, but somebody really likes the microphone that you're working on right now. So they want to know what kind of microphone that is. It's a Shure, what does it say on it? Shure, does it say something on it? This is one that we've just recently gotten in as a test model, because we make review videos of the products that we sell, a lot of our tech stuff, and our video coordinator loves trying these things out. So he wanted us to try this one out today. And I don't know about you, I like it. I like it a lot. It's one of my favorite microphones.
Yeah, I really love
that we
it.
have. So what is it?
It is a Shure, that's for sure. Forgive the pun. I'm not sure which one it is, but so actually, if you're on the Pepper website, we are curating a ton of content, not only for directors but also for people that have workstations. You're a composer, you have computers, you have DAWs, you have a need for a piano or a nice microphone like this. So go and check out the content that's hanging out on our website. Obviously, you can go and buy this, and of course, actually, it's a pretty nice mic. I was eyeing up myself. It has a XLR connection, so that's really perfect for any professional recording, and it also has the USB to micro USB. So
we will figure out what this is and let you know, Alan. And so it really doesn't say on it at all what it is. It doesn't say anything except Shure. It doesn't have a model number or anything on it. That's weird. I took that microphone home for the weekend because I was doing some webinars at home, and I just don't remember.
Here's a model number, MV7.
Okay, it's a Shure MV7, Mary Victor 7. So check it out. It is one of my favorite in our lineup here. So okay,
yeah, really nice.
we are out of time. So Isaac, any parting words for our viewers today?
Yeah, so we went over a ton. Turn it down. How's that better?
Isaac was playing with this microphone, and now it doesn't really work at all. Oh, you're just very quiet.
How about now?
Just talk really loud.
So obviously we went through a lot of information, and of course, if you have questions, feel free to contact me at any time. Um, if you're having some struggles, if you're wanting to just chat about marketing and promotion and getting your music and really just talk about ideas, go ahead and let me know. Drop me a line at myscore@jwpepper.com. Also, we have past webinars. We have articles that we have available in our help desk. And then also, I am available to you. I want to be a resource for you. Sometimes I am a little limited with doing content like this and doing a lot of the behind the scenes, but I do have a public calendar that you can always schedule out some time. Of course, it might be limited. It can't be a full hour like our webinar here, but feel free to reach out. We want to make this an easy process for you. We want to get your music out there as soon as possible. Like I said, we're getting music online within a day, and it's ready for print, and it's showing up in JW Pepper's searches. So, let me be a resource for you, and be, just I want to be your friend. So go ahead and reach out.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So you can see we have a lot of fun here. And thank you so much to all of you for joining us today. We did do an earlier webinar on uploading music for large ensembles, and we did send a link to that in your invitation email, but we'll include that in tomorrow's email as well. We are also planning 2 more webinars in this series, one every other month. So be watching for more information about that. And I believe, is that it? Is that it?
That is it. Again, we love you guys. We're so thankful that you're part of our MyScore community and that you're adding wonderful music to a time that is a little difficult. So, keep writing, keep being inspired, keep improving your profiles, your descriptions, and the content that you're releasing. Don't be a stranger. We're always here for you.
Thank you so much. And we do have so many other questions that Isaac has not had a chance to answer. So I'm sure he will be getting some answers out to all of you as soon as he can. So thanks so much for asking all of those. Don't forget to do the survey at the end and let us know what else you're interested in. And we will see you on our next webinar. Thanks so much for joining us.